When did you realize your friends were actually fake friends? Finding out they have an inner circle group chat, but I'm the only one not in it. Same. I found out that they had two groups, one with me and one without. They never use the one with me though. This is the worst feeling. When I was in my mid-20s, I worked a job where 4 of us had the same position. The 4 of us did everything together. Then I made a mistake, and I apologized for it. But one of them just could not seem to forgive me, and aggressively isolated me from the group. I remember how crappy it was to discover that they had a whole group chat that I wasn't included in, and had done all these social things without me. I've always been lucky to have a lot of friends, and I figured out after a while that these people weren't going to be it for me. So I stepped away from those friendships and invested in my actual friendships. It still makes me mad looking back, though. Something similar happened to me. We were all set to go enjoy music at a local establishment. I talked to multiple people from the group, confirming meeting time. I got there and no one else was there. Eventually they all showed up together. Found out they had been out all day together shopping/drinking, and I was the only one not clued into that part. I had been looking forward to the night, but ended up feeling lower than I had ever felt. This happened to me as well. Hurt like a bitch when I found out, but best thing you can do is cut them off. When my phone got stolen and I lost their phone numbers, mine stayed the same, but we just never talked again. When my Apple account got compromised and I lost my backup, when I changed phones I lost all of my numbers. I haven't gotten a text or call from any of my friends since. That was 5 years ago. That's a painful one. My phone number hasn't changed in decades. No one seems to have it for some reason. I was invited to the bachelorette party for one of the friends in this group. While at the party, I figured out that I was the only person not invited to the wedding. I had been invited to the party because they needed another person to chip in for expenses. What kind of human scum does that? Apparently I didn't realize I was on a different tier of friendship with my so-called friend. My friend was getting married and I didn't get an invite, which was fine since her wedding was a destination wedding in a different country. I attended a sleepover party, which she hosted. There was about 9 girls there in total. They kept talking about the kick-ass bachelorette party and then started showing photos of the crazy party. I realized I was the only one not invited. Made me feel kind of crummy. I wouldn't have accepted the invite to go to the bachelorette party if I wasn't invited to the wedding. That's low. One friend stopped replying to my texts right after we graduated from college. Like the same week we graduated. So, I was pretty much just a study buddy that they kept close to keep me helping them. Same thing happened to me. Was friends with so many people during college. In the last 3 weeks was an unpaid work placement which we had to go back to the school to hand in our paperwork. Not one of them spoke to me or would even answer me if I said something to them. Became clear that I was only valuable to them when I was helping them. Class awards had me down as most willing to help classmates. Edit. Thank you for the award. Edit 2. OMG, thank you all so much for the awards. Never expected this to blow up when I posted. This is basically all of the friends I made at various points in college. As soon as we don't see each other 3x a week, they fade away. I get they're busy, but I didn't realize making lasting friendships as an adult would be so difficult. I won't say I have fake friends, but I'm definitely the periphery friend. The majority of the time, if there isn't enough tickets or space in the car for everyone to go do something, I'm the one who gets cut out. It doesn't bother me much, but I wish they would be more mindful when talking to me about things we have done. Remember when we went to see 30th? Wasn't that fun? Well, no, because I wasn't invited. In those situations it usually gets awkward, or they say, hey, we would have invited you if we had the tickets, space, etc. Preach. Absolute preach. It's a crap feeling. I was recently excluded from a party where my friends got on a bus to go out of town. The friend who had the party said that they didn't invite me because there was not enough space on the bus. I'd rather he told me the truth as to why I wasn't invited in the first place. There were about 70 people on the bus. Edit. To prevent any future confusion, the bus was hired. I also experienced this with the friend group I grew up with. There was no single or full event. Just got tired of being on the periphery and being an afterthought, even though when we were actually together I'd swear we were all family. Finally decided to just cut it all out and move on after my absolute closest friend who I've known since I was 8 handed me a wedding invitation for a wedding that was planned for a year and now it was like 2 weeks away. He tells me hotel is almost fully booked so call soon if you plan on staying overnight. That was the most I've ever felt like a complete and total afterthought. Went to the wedding for the ceremony and one last show of effort for the friendship, but at this point I felt so uncomfortable and alienated. I knew they just weren't my people anymore, and I had to get on without them. Those types of people aren't worth it, man. Remember this, if they wanted to they most likely could. I was always on that spectrum as well. I've had 4 core groups of friends over the years. First was in junior high and high school and I would frequently learn about things they had done or parties they'd had that I wasn't invited to for whatever reason. 2 years after graduation I just wasn't invited to hang out anymore. College I had a new core group. Or really 2. But during the summer I was left out when they would all get together and do activities we all did during the school year. I never understood why I was left out. Then after graduating I drifted away. Got another group of friends and same story. I don't blame any of them though. I'm obviously the common denominator and I have my thoughts on what's wrong with me that people don't think to have me around. Or perhaps don't want me around, but I'm still trying to really figure it out. Maybe if I fix it, I can finally have some long-term friends. But I'm getting older, have kids, and not really hopeful that's going to happen. After my divorce, we were couples friends not individually. Same for me, my ex was crazy abusive and I had proof and most of our friends took the I'm not taking sides stance. Well here's the surprise, not taking sides is siding with the abuser. Especially because when they say I'm not taking sides what they mean is I don't care what your ex did. I'm staying friends with him. My wife and I separated and she got the majority of our friends. Almost nobody checked in on me to see how I was doing. Then we decided to work it out and stay together and now there's a whole list of people's birthdays I don't have to remember. Mine had a different angle. My friend got mad at me and my husband because we continued to be friendly with her ex after their divorce. We were all great friends. Even went on trips together. But she wanted us to pick her and have nothing to do with him after the divorce. We still talk, but the friendship is gone. This was quite a few years ago. My ex and I were really friendly with another couple. Did a ton of stuff together. Then they moved not far and fairly shortly after my ex and I separated. They hung out with me for a few months, but then stopped calling. A few years later, I ran into both of them at a race and ultra marathon, and they both pretended like they didn't know me. That was actually a really painful moment. I just posted something similar. When I was married we were in a friend group with 3 other couples on our street. My ex cheated and we divorced. The group kept inviting both of us to the same events because they didn't want to pick sides. I moved out of the neighborhood and realized they were proximity friends, not real friends. That hurt a lot. 1. What a jerk store move. It only takes a second to say hey look it's so and so and good to see you and keep walking. 2. How old were you? Because this sounds like full on adult proximity friends. The group made plans to meet and hang out. I was getting ready in the salon. A couple of friends had to back out for some reason. The other friend then made excuses of his own. And I could tell. I tried cajoling him and offer ways for him to go, but he basically decided to cancel the entire group meetup. It was my birthday. Same thing happened to me on my 21st birthday. All my friends made up excuses why they couldn't come. Then the 3 friends that did met some guys and we went back to their house and awkwardly sat around. Happened again for my 25th birthday. I had moved across the country and found new friends, but they all bailed at the last minute. I called my roommate at the time, who came out when he got off work, and he called some of his friends who came out, and I had the best night ever. Those guys are now my real friends. And I married that roommate. Damn. Hope you aren't with those people anymore. When they stopped contacting me when I stopped drinking. I feel this. Used to have countless friends. Went out all the time. Lost control of myself and quit. Friends stopped calling. Now I'm a weird eccentric who hangs out in the woods in all my free time. Things are better this way. I have a couple friends who stuck around, and the girl of my dreams. That's all I need. When I realized I was the one always calling, then I stopped and friends disappeared. I only have one exception to this rule, as I know my friend is a reactive texter and has got a lot on his mind at all times: PTSD, anxiety, depression and such. I check in on him regularly, and I don't mind him being a wall for a while. Has come through for me, and has a good man. The rest can muck off. I feel you on this one. While it's annoying to be the one that always takes initiative, some people do really suck at doing this and behave like this with everyone in their lives. I would bring this point up with friends and see where it goes before deciding on whether they are real or fake. I feel you on this one as well. I'm going to a casino with my last group of friends from high school, and I'm very confident it is the last time I will be speaking or seeing most of them. I'm always the one that has to reach out first, and I'm tired of it. Once high school ended, I heard about all the rumors they made up about me. The hell do you mean by rumors? What kind? Why? I have so many questions. Whenever we were supposed to hang out, something came up, and that something was hanging out with other mutual friends. Yes, my best friend in high school used to do this to me all the time. On Wednesday, I'd ask if she wanted to see a movie Friday night. She'd always say maybe, if I can get out of doing whatever with my parents. Come Monday, I'd hear her talking about how great the movie was. Apparently, last minute her parents said she didn't have to go, and miraculously a group of people called right then and asked her to see the same movie. She'd always say, I figured you made other plans, when I confronted her about it. In reality, she'd just wait to see what the better option was and pick on Friday. God, that pissed me off. I asked my ex-BFF to take the day off for St. Patrick's Day since we always celebrate together. She did. I reminded her a couple days before to finalize what we would do. Her response was, oh, I made plans with X. You could come meet us for a drink, I guess. I said no thanks, and in my head the friendship was over. She never reached out to me once. Turns out I wasn't important in her life. I stopped smoking weed, and they stopped coming round. Edit. That's a lot of upvotes. I'm sorry so many of you seem to have had similar experiences. You'll make new friends, if you haven't already. To the people saying there's nothing wrong with this, then I'd like to respectfully disagree. These were people I considered close friends. It wasn't just some guys and gals I shared a hobby with. Please don't be so quick to judge when you have very little context. This is a lesson that every smoker learns after a while. Some friends are only friends that you smoke with. A good rule of thumb is to do things together where you're not smoking. If that works, then you are probably real friends and not just together for smoking. I had to stop smoking weed for 3 months because I was moving to Korea. They drug test you if you're getting a teaching visa. And a few of my good friends just straight up stopped hanging out with me. Same with drinking. When I went through a divorce and was down to 700, most difficult period, and weeded out all those who friended me for my generosity because I was well settled. Started over and have like 2 true good friends. Edit. Thank you all for your well wishes and wisdom filled comments. Incredible how sometimes you get more support and well wishes from strangers than folks who led you to believe to be your well wishers. 2 real friends is better than 100 fake friends. Hope you're doing well. Quality over quantity. When they ghosted me after 17 years of close friendship, I still have no idea what I did wrong. And for extra salt in the wound, it was right after I spent a week eating instant noodles because I donated every cent I had to one of them for her cancer treatment GoFundMe. Hurt more than any relationship breakup. Edit. For all those asking, yes, she definitely has cancer. No, she didn't die. And given that it was more than one person who ghosted me, and that the cancer friend still maintains an active social life with everyone else but me, it's probably not for reasons related to her ordeal. Is there a go refund me option? This is incredible. It almost can't get any worse. I feel your pain. My closest friend of 10 years sent me a texted saying I don't do enough for her, and she has other friends. She sent that the night before an MRI for my brain tumor. That was 4 years ago and it still stings. Oh. And she lives down the street from me. Like I suspect for a lot of people, getting divorced was a real eye-opener. I started with a core group of close friends who had all met in our late teens/early 20s, and one of them introduced me to the woman who I would ultimately marry. Well into our 40s they were what I considered to be my family, but when the divorce happened things spiraled. My best friend stuck with me, but his wife was the one who orchestrated things in our group, and she was best friends with my ex. I was expecting the two of them to insulate for a while and I knew it was painful for my ex to be around me. So it was no surprise when I stopped getting invitations to cookouts etc. But then I noticed that the other members of the group were also avoiding/ignoring me. I'd see on Facebook that one of them came into my town to go to a concert for a band that they knew I liked and hadn't so much as texted. Birthdays rolled around and nobody would call. When my parents both died within a few months of each other and not a one of them reached out, I knew where I stood. My best friend needs to get credit though. Alone from all of them, he made a consistent effort to stay in touch and see me regularly. He was there when my parents died and through everything else, even though his wife clearly disapproved. I think finally after this nonsense had been going on for several years he told her how ridiculous it all seemed and that entire friend group tried to reconcile. I made it clear right from the start that there was no guarantee that I'd ever find space for them in my life again. This is all very apropos right now because they are having their first big post-COVID party in a couple weeks and I'm invited. People are coming in from all over the country and the only one I give a poop about seeing is my buddy. I made the mistake of getting into a serious relationship with my best friend's girlfriend's best friend. Never again. When you try to open up and try to share a genuine conversation about something going on in your life and all they can do is crack jokes and try to get you to go out drinking with them, made me realize how surface level many friendships really are. Then you have the opposite of that. 3 guys I've known since I was a freshman in high school, been friends for over 15 years. Have stayed in touch through all of us getting married, having kids, and moving to completely separate areas or the country. Yet whenever we're within an hour of each other we always make a point to get breakfast and catch up. This usually turns into 3+ hour conversations. This may only happen once or twice a year, but I consider those guys my best friends. That's real friendship and I'm fortunate to have them. I'm still best friends with my best friend from 2nd grade. We live on opposite ends of the country now. We make it a point to visit each other once a year. Sometimes where we live. Some Timisa random new city we went to Portland. Or last year. Almost 30 years of friendship. We've been there for each other through all the hard times. And I'd get to be there for his wedding next year. Friendships are easy when you're a kid. But get harder with age. You have crap going on in your life that just makes it harder to hang out with people. But you make time for those who really matter. When I was in school, all my friends and I did different A-levels. Despite us all having different lessons to each other, they would wait for each other to go to lunch together. But they would always forget me, like it'd come out, and they wouldn't be there. So I'd have lunch by myself. And then they'd come back and tell me they thought I was with them. I was the only one they didn't wait for. I've only seen one of them since we left school. She had forgotten my name. So that sucked. That happened to me. One time my friends all sat at a lunch table that was full and I was sat on one that was completely empty, and so I asked them to come sit by me and they said no. Those people suck. My friends from high school all unfollowed me when I graduated college. I'm the only one who no longer lives in our hometown. Consider that a badge of honor. This friend, I'll call her Mary, had kids the same age as mine. We got together for play dates pretty often, and our kids would sleep over at each other's houses for weekends. I liked Mary. We would often visit and talk while our kids were playing. One weekend, her kids had stayed at my house. The older one called her mom to see when she was coming to pick her up. I was in the room, and the kid put the phone on speaker for some reason. Mary told the kid what time she would be there and added, "You had better be waiting outside. If I have to go in and spend the next hour talking to revert him, I'm going to be really pissed." We didn't spend much time together after that. Edit. I'm getting a lot of similar questions and comments. So I'll add an edit here instead of writing the same answer a dozen times. Did I overreact? Was Mary just having a bad day and not want to talk? And My personal favorite, revert him. Maybe you're just insufferable? Here's what happened. After I overheard my friend say that to her child, I simply stopped initiating contact and wasn't as available to do stuff for her. When we dropped off or picked up the kids, I smiled and waved. I let the kids make the plans for playdates. I no longer had time to help her with her garden or watch her kids while she went out with another friend. They were into long distance running, which is not my cup of tea. She never contacted me unless she wanted something. This had always been true, but I had not realized it. The friendship eventually fizzled out on its own, so I guess it had never been much of a friendship to begin with. I just didn't realize it until she opened my eyes. I think this is especially crappy. Mom friends are hard enough to find. Then to realize that they didn't even want to hang with you. And because your kiddos are friends, you don't necessarily want to blow that up by calling the fake mom friend out. I tried to have mom friends, but it failed 3 times. And that was enough for me. I was at a party, really depressed after a bad breakup and got drunk. My abusive ex showed up, caught me somewhere alone and hit me. I begged several friends for help since I was too drunk to drive home alone, and they ignored me. My ex-best friend was there, completely sober, and refused to drive home with me because she didn't believe he would do that. There's no Uber or anything in my country BTW. The whole thing escalated. One guy I didn't know ended up finding me alone in a field crying and throwing up, brought me back to the house, built a bed out of blankets for me, and sat guard all night to make sure my ex wouldn't do anything again. What happened after that? Did you find any new friends? Did you get your ex to leave you alone? Sounds terrifying. Hope your ex gets what he deserves. This was also when I realized who were my friends and who weren't. We were supposed to go to a tour and we saved our money and pulled them. Fake friends told me they had to cancel the plan because ticket prices got too high. Told me to wait a few days to get my money back. Real friends asked me why I bailed on them and were worried that I had an emergency. Turns out my fake friends didn't want me to come and instead would use my money for their booze, and told everyone else that I bailed out and took my money back so everyone else would give more for their booze allowance. That friendship ended, and I also learned my fake friends were alcoholics and weren't strangers to mucking over people to get what they want. Today one of them is alive. Their alcoholism ruined their lives and some even died from it. When I traded in my truck for a smaller, more eco-friendly vehicle, communication plummeted now that I can't haul furniture around, assist with moving as much, dispose of garbage, etc. Some people just use you for the stuff you have, and that is the worst type of people ever. I flew out to support a friend going through a messy divorce. While I was there, she left me in the apartment to meet up with her boyfriend that I didn't know about. He turned out to have just been released from prison for manslaughter. Once she told me that, I told her that I didn't want to spend time with him, especially considering the circumstances of my visit. The next night, I woke up in the middle of the night to find him in the living room. She said that she thought it wouldn't matter since I was asleep. The next day, she invited her soon-to-be ex-husband over without telling me and then asked me to meditate their conversation once he got there. That conversation turned ugly fast, and she ended up storming out. He broke down and asked if I thought it was salvageable, and I told him that she had already moved on. Maybe not the best idea on my part, but at that point, she had shown me how vile of a person she is. He broke down and asked if I thought it was salvageable, and I told him that she had already moved on. Maybe not the best idea on my part. No, it was the right idea. You were being a good friend to that guy. That was fair to let him know. Honestly, she sounds like a mess. You're far better off distancing yourself. Deleted. Resentment has a way of staying with you longer than you think. It is very fresh, so give it some time to learn and accept what happened. Then try to leave it behind. Been in your situation, and it poisoned future relations for quite some time. Looking back, I think my friends would have been very satisfied with their negative impact on my life. So, try to move on with professional help if you need it. It is better for you, not easier. They would invite each other to places in front of me and not include me in the slightest. When I ditched them, they didn't know how to take it, lol. Lol, they had taken you for granted. Often when these people, ones who were taken for granted, give them a taste of their own medicine, they can't stand it. You know, hurt their ego and stuff. They stopped inviting me to hang out. They would ask me to drive them to parties, but not invite me to go to the parties. They basically ghosted me for a while. They were once such amazing and important friends, but they gradually became really arrogant. It took a way longer than it should have to give up and find other people. Dude, the group of friends I gave up on would do this to this guy we know. They'd invite him to hang out, only so he could drive us. One time they didn't let him into the club, so I decided to stay behind with him and watch movies at his house. He even had the decency to go back for my friends when the club closed. I'm no longer friends with them, but I'm still friends with the guy, and he even helped me get together with my boyfriend. I don't give him enough props, lol.